running up that hill. Welcome, everybody, to Fresh Black Coffee for a special Friday Night Live. And Eddie did not get hair straightener or go on a diet. He just switched chairs. No, just kidding. Eddie's out tonight, and David Oldham and I were going to do this tomorrow morning, but all of a sudden a business schedule and conflict said, hey, let's do this Friday night. Yeah. So David, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me. It's fun to be here.
Yeah. So it's Friday night. How's traffic?
It was horrible.
Yeah.
I think it starts earlier than I realized, but I always try to avoid rush hour anyway. And I thought I was gonna, but man, it must have started at 4.
Yeah. So what are your pet peeves about traffic?
Pet peeves?
Yeah.
Oh,
can I go with mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
I'm going by St. Francis on 61st Street.
Okay.
And it's 40 mile an hour posted speed, and everybody's going 40 except one little old lady in the left lane, the inside lane, thinks 35 is better for everybody.
Right.
So she goes 35 in the inside lane.
Right.
And then we get up to Sheridan, and it's green lights, but she cuts into the left turn lane with me, and it's flashing yellow. And yellow, well, I'm get ready to stop, right? So she doesn't go out into the intersection like you're supposed to.
Uh-huh.
First car is supposed to pull out just past the crosswalk.
Right.
No, she'll wait for the next light.
Oh,
and so will I, and everybody else after her. And she didn't want to take those risks.
Right. I had a guy who I let go in front of me, and the next guy behind him snuck in and then got cut off by cross traffic and kept us all from getting up to the light.
Yeah.
Just because he was trying to jump in.
Yeah.
And it would have been great, except traffic. I could see the traffic wasn't going to make it. But anyway, so the biggest, you asked my pet peeve. Yeah. The biggest pet peeves I have are single lane roads that are single lane width, but have 2 lanes.
Lewis Avenue. And some of Peoria.
Peoria.
Harvard's not that good.
21st, down in the old Midtown section. All of that area is horrible because you can't even fit in the lane. The buses certainly can't.
Oh, they don't care.
They're encroaching. Well, they are the size they are. It's
no. The law is if you can't drive this, you go find someplace else. But a city bus acts like, go to hell, I'm the city. Because they will go, because I live over there between Peoria and Lewis, and they will go down and they'll be about a foot into the other lane.
Oh, yeah.
And they're breaking state law.
Right.
But we're the city.
Right.
And yeah, it frustrates me to no end on that.
That's probably my biggest thing just because of a safety issue.
Yeah. But my third complaint about this, Sister Carvey, I'll call her the church lady. Okay. Because when I did finally get by her, she looked just like Dana Carvey's church lady character. And she finally gets the green light at Sheridan 61st.
Right.
Makes her left turn. And thankfully she pulled in Oldham. What do you think she did? She went directly to the outside lane, which is illegal. Are you still going to debate that with me? Because
no. I don't doubt that there's some weird Oklahoma law. I made a U-turn where you're supposed to make a U-turn, and it did not have a no U-turn signal at the signal, right? Mm-hmm. No, in Oklahoma, apparently the cop pulled me over. It's right after I moved to Oklahoma, and he pulled me over and said, "No, there's a judicial ruling." And that says you cannot make the U-turn at the light. You have to go down to the middle of the block and make it.
So it's a city ordinance.
No, he said it's a judicial ruling. So it's nowhere even found in law.
Well, but see, we don't even know whether that was a municipal court or a state district court.
Oh, that separate issue. Just judicial.
Okay.
And he told me that. I don't know where it came from. Mm-hmm. And I have heard different police officers tell me different things. Quite frankly, I've never bothered to look it up to see what the law says. But the point was the judicial ruling was supposed to bypass state law. And the point was I thought the law said, because I got the question right on my driver's test when I moved to the state.
Yeah.
And that was that you can make the U-turn unless there's a new U-turn sign there at the light.
That's state law. Now, the city of Tulsa for decades made it against the law to do U-turns by ordinance.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it was changed in the 90s. I remember when Susan Savage changed it. She was interviewed on media, and she said, here's the rules. 1, everybody else has right of way, which makes sense. Okay. It must be one continuous maneuver, no backing up.
Right.
And you cannot at all leave the paved roadway.
Right.
It means you can't go into the ditch or anything.
Right.
And as long as you can do those things, the city is satisfied you did it properly, unless posted.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was a place where I was able to fit all of that.
Yeah.
I was still pulled over. And he just gave me a warning and realized that I must not know the rules.
I wish he would have told you whether it was municipal or district, state district.
Wouldn't have ever thought to have asked him at that point in time. But
you would now. But anyway, so church lady. In this case, I was glad she moved it because she should have been on the outside lane the whole time because she's driving like a,
Right. I had to deal with people doing that in the left lane on the turnpike.
Yeah.
The other day, just barely, not even going the speed limit. By God, they were not going to pull out of the left lane.
Yeah.
And everybody was going around them on the right. And it's like, where's the police officer to use that law we don't like against them? Because that was exactly what it's supposed to be.
Oh, first time I heard about something like that was my own boss when I was working retail chain.
Really?
Yeah. And the boss wife says, Em and I, when we go down to Dallas, we just drive on the inside lane because we don't want to deal with all the merging traffic and all that. So we just go down the inside lane and people honk at us like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I would too, lady, except she's my boss. So I had to bite my tongue on that one, keep my job. I got little kids in diapers to buy and all that, So anyway, but that's a crazy thing. Yeah. While we're on traffic issues, anything else about Oklahoma drivers that you just think are nuts? Because you're a California native, right?
Well, yeah. The number one thing is nobody wants to let you into the lane. So you're trying to merge, change lanes and merge or something like that, or the whole zipper merge thing when you get to a construction site and people want to race up on you and keep you from actually getting into your space in line. That's been something that was, while not unique to Oklahoma, it has been. It was eye-opening when I moved here. And it has been 15 years, almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it was one of the big things that stood out to me because it happens here more than I had ever seen it before.
Well, yeah.
To that degree.
Our policy here was begin merging like a mile ahead of time. Well, they encourage that kind of mentality.
Yes.
That you're finding a problem. My home state of Minnesota, our native state of Minnesota, it's not my home anymore, thank God. And we'll talk about that later. They were one of the first to institute it, and I think they did it right because at every major highway construction site, it says allow merging. And it says, practice zipper merging, and they'll just have this little arrow thing. And because if everybody does it right, it does work.
It actually goes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you drive city traffic, big city traffic like LA or San Francisco kind of traffic, usually all it took to get in, you had to assert yourself, but to get in, all you had to do was start moving into the lane and people would back off. What I've noticed with Oklahoma is they will not give up their spot. They will push forward and by God, I'm not moving. And push into that space, even though you're already moving into that space.
Well, they have the mindset of you should have got behind me and got your place and slide instead of butt.
You were ahead
they
of
them. They consider you butting line because you didn't merge a mile back. See?
Oh no! I'm not talking just about at the construction site. I'm just talking in general.
Yeah, anytime
lanes in busy traffic.
You're right.
Or whatever. And these guys will just run up. And it happened here in Oklahoma. It was one of the eye-opening things. It happened more in Oklahoma than I'd ever seen anywhere else I've driven around the country. And I've driven a lot of places. But it was very strange. It was very telling. And I'm not the only person who I've talked to about this. And that seems to be kind of like the number one thing. There's an Oklahoma mindset.
Yeah. The reason, because I'm like the other guy, I'm careful not to be too inviting of people because I've had people pulling from me and stop and I slam into them.
Oh my.
Yeah. Now, fortunately, I had witnesses and the cop says, that was an illegal lane change because if they didn't establish that truth that it was illegal lane change, then I hit them, I'm responsible.
Right.
And so there are reasons why people like, hey, don't pull that stuff.
Right.
Do it where you can do it safely or do it slowly where people have.
Well, here it's like, okay, so there's a distance, a proper distance, and you're going to move into that space. Traffic's moving.
Yeah.
And everything. And when you go to move in, this guy's just going to run up because he's all of a sudden it's a race.
Yeah.
Why are we now all of a sudden in a race? We weren't in a race 10 seconds ago, but now I put on my blinker and all of a sudden now it's a race. And by God, it's I don't understand that mentality.
I had to stand in line one time, some government office and long line. And I'm waiting. I was probably 45 minutes standing in line. And I still got maybe 15 minutes by my guess.
Right.
And I see somebody go up to front. It was a woman pushing a baby in a stroller. And all of a sudden, she's talking to the person in front. And then when they said next, this woman pushing the baby went next. So I walked up to people. I said, why was she allowed to butt in line? Well, she said she had to get up to the hospital as soon as she was done here. I said, ma'am, we all have places to go. I said, if you're going to give her your place in line, fine. But then you go to the back.
Right.
Because she made everybody move back one. Everybody else.
Right.
And that's what happens because that's what happened to you today. Somebody, you thought, okay, I can handle this. But then the next guy sticks his nose in front of you and then he's holding up traffic.
Sure.
Yeah. But he's the important person, So, anyway.
So important. He's going to hold up two lines of traffic, keep him from getting to the light.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would say that we have to work on here, and that's a municipal, especially municipal, but also state thing, and that is better signage and we've got to get proper road striping and stuff on the roads.
Oh yeah.
I've came up to some places. I mean, I've never seen any place where you can't tell where the striping is. You can't tell what the directionals are when you come up to the light.
You're right.
Which lane. I was in a lane and I just split. I knew there was a line. I split it because I didn't know which one was right turn, which one was straight, which one was left.
Yeah.
No idea. I come up because it's all so worn off. You can't tell.
Especially this time of year because they've been sanding for the snow and ice.
Okay.
And that's like sandpaper on the road. And it'll cut that paint right off. So now is when it's usually at its worst.
Well, if we're going to sand, I mean, we need to start talking about this. I mean, this has been a problem I've seen since I got here.
Okay.
But especially in the cities, I know they have really expensive paint vehicles that they spend $250,000 to $1 million on, and they're not out striping the stripers and stuff like that.
Well, they use a ceramic paint that's super expensive,
and it's not even as shiny as the stuff that was used to in California, which has a lot of metallic flake and reflective material in it. And out here they don't do that. It's like, why not? And in California they would use divots. They dig out the concrete or the asphalt.
That's a brilliant.
And put all of your reflectors down low. And there they had, if it was a blue reflector, all you had to do was look to the right or the left, and there was a fire hydrant there. If there were, and in the middle of your lanes, so if you have two lanes going the same direction, there would be white reflectors. If you had the middle lines, it would be yellow. And anything going the other way, it would be red on the other side. So if you had your lights, you could see where you could go and where you couldn't go. But everything was in a divot, so you could run your even if the lines are off, you could still tell where the street was.
Let me break that apart. The whole divot thing.
Yes.
That's brilliant because people can still see that rough texture even when there is no paint left.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's brilliant because sometimes the only thing you can use to divide, figure out whose lane is whose, is that expansion crack between pores of concrete.
Oh, I use it all the time.
And now when I first came down here in 1980, the city used those reflective little things along the divider lines.
Okay.
And then
they were raised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But my dad comes down for my graduation in 82, and he says, that's the most asinine thing I ever saw. Now, remember, he works for the street department in central Minnesota.
Okay.
And I said, what's wrong with him? He says, well, the first snowfall, the snowplows are going to rip those all off.
Every single one of them.
And I said, Dad.
In one pass.
Dad, we don't have snowplows. Because at that time, we didn't own it.
Oh, okay.
City of Tulsa didn't have a snowplow back then.
Oh, my. Okay.
He says, what do you do with the snow? I said, we really don't get snow. The whole time I was down here for those 2 years going to Bible school, I don't think we had one good snowfall.
Okay. Right.
But he's coming in on the Will Rogers Turnpike. And he says, that's the craziest thing. He says, they don't have a ditch in the middle of the road.
Okay.
And I said, no. I said, what's wrong with that? He says, well, the snowplow, the snowbanks will just get. I said, Dad, we don't get snow. He couldn't figure out, we're in the South. We don't get snow. And you have to change all your thinking.
Right.
So
I say we're a little more in the central, but.
Yeah. But no, you're from the Bakersfield area generally.
Yeah. Due west.
Did they get much snow?
Oh, no. Well,
I see. You can afford those reflective center dividers then.
Yeah, you definitely could.
And with all that taxes they charge you there, they better give you something for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. It's just that if I was going to be doing something with the government, streets or something like that, I'd be looking at other places and finding out what do they use and what do they do better. I would like to see it. I talked to the streets guy at one. I think it was back when we were fighting Vision 2 because they were wanting all sorts of money, and they were talking about all of this. And it's like they don't even have the money to run their regular street striper. They've spent all this money on it, but it sits idle because they don't actually budget enough for maintenance. Yeah, which was the big. They want to do more big building stuff, but they don't maintain what they have.
That's it.
And that's what we have to work on. I don't know what you do about Lewis or Peoria or 21st Street, widening it, because unless you're taking out houses, you're not going to be able to.
Well, they wouldn't have to take out houses. They would have to grab easements.
You would have to,
And
so many of those houses are up near the street.
And well,
you're going to be taking
along Lewis Avenue. Do you know which avenue most of our mayors have lived along? Lewis Avenue.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Up in the worst part of
now, it's about 31st in Lewis, roughly. Okay. Yeah. When they decided to widen 71st Street, it was a lane in each direction, no shoulders.
Right.
Okay, this is going back to the 80s. Susan Savage, when she was mayor, she proposed it, going from those one lane each direction, no shoulders, all the way to center median and 6 lanes, 3 in each way, plus turn lanes, right?
Right.
Oh, the money we had to spend on buying up easement.
Oh, yeah.
And bulldozing houses and stuff.
Yep.
And the people of 71st in Harvard are rich and powerful. And I'm surprised we got it done. I really am. But you know what? Because of the 71st Street corridor being so good.
Yeah. It's grown up.
Look what happened to Restaurant Row.
Right.
Right? Memorial 71st. And then at the other end, Tulsa Hills.
Right.
And all the shopping gets done between those 2 shopping centers, about 10 miles apart, going down and forth, back and forth at 71st.
Right. Well, they're not even 10. Are they even 10 miles apart?
Close, because you cross the river. Remember, it's about 2 miles the other side of the river.
Right.
To get to Tulsa Hills.
Okay.
So anyway, we should get into the show today.
Enough talking about pet peeve.
By the way, enjoy the show. I make my own homemade Doritos.
Do you really?
Yes, I want you to try them.
Ooh.
Okay, I actually buy all the spices, cheddar cheese.
I like this. Ooh.
Anyway, tell me what you think of it. Now, Doritos, they put a lot of red food coloring in. I didn't want all the food coloring and stuff.
Well, I don't taste MSG, which is what I like.
Yes. No MSG, because Doritos does do that.
Yeah, I can't eat Frito-Lays because of all the MSG they use. These are delicious.
Yeah, no, I buy that 6-pound box of Sam's tortillas, right? And they used to be $7 for 6 pounds. Now it's about $13. But I just ordered some just cheddar cheese powder. And then I got on YouTube and they just had like 3 or 4 different recipes.
Right.
And the smoked paprika is probably the most unique.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would want to make these spicier.
Yes.
Because I like spicy.
Yeah. This was
my wife would really like these.
Yeah.
Can I take them home?
Yes. Take that batch with you.
That's great. I hate to eat on air.
But I wanted to get a little taste test on that because
those are delicious.
Yeah. In fact, while I was at Sam's picking up another big box for this, I went by and Doritos is now selling Dorito chips with no food coloring. And it looks, they said it'll look like it doesn't have much on it, but it's got a lot of cheddar cheese and stuff in that. Right. So, I mean, with the old Maha movement going on.
I love that.
Yes. There's a lot of companies that are saying, maybe we ought to provide an alternative for people who don't want all the red food coloring.
These people have had enough time contributing to the bad health of America. It's time they did something decent.
Yeah. So it's been a year of Bobby Kennedy's Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
Give us a score. What do you like? What don't you like?
Well, okay. So as the constitutionalist in me, I hate the illegalities that are HHS.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's no call for all the things that they do. They're all unconstitutional, generally speaking, and so forth. But it is a sea change in terms of the way our tyrannical government has operated toward we the people. And so in that sense, it is night and day different. We are getting good information. We are seeing people come out of the woodwork because, I got one of my many starts in the health movement, alternative health. I keep an eye on this stuff, and this has been something I've been wanting for nearly 40 years. And so the whole Maha thing and doctors coming out and talking about everything from vaccines to drugs and the goods and the bads, because before they would only talk about the goods, they would never talk about the bads. And it's like, you would be gaslit if you ever talked about a bad, and as though they were perfect in all respects at all times, which never made any sense. But the openness of the dialogue, I think, has really, really changed the direction that we as a people are headed. And I think it's really, really good.
Yeah. So it has gotten almost to a cultish pitch, the don't question the science arrogance that was coming from the elite in the medical community.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, don't question the science. Isn't that science?
That is what science is questioning. Yeah. But, and really the co-opting of HHS by corporate America, particularly the pharmaceuticals and, the big ag and all that. Things that Canada won't let them do, but somehow we'll just let them do.
Right. Well, and I think, it's amazing when you look at how Bobby Kennedy came into that position. Mm-hmm. I mean, from all of his work as a lawyer, and then how he and Trump got together, and they put him in that position, which just doesn't make, the word's not sense, but it's somewhat counterintuitive to put a lawyer to run HHS. And as he had to point out, only 2 people ever running HHS have ever been doctors.
Yeah.
And so it seems counterintuitive, but he's the right guy for the job. And I love that where he's taking it. He's taking it slow. They're dotting their I's and crossing their T's. And so in that sense, it's great. Yeah. Would I like to see government out of science altogether? Absolutely, because that's how you free up science. Government has to be out, has to be gone. We've got to have zero government spending on science, except where it affects the military. Yeah. And those kinds of things under military budget. But other than that, I don't see where you can really that's questionable. We need to free up the private sector again and let innovation happen. And I think that's coming.
One of the things he did, and Dr. Oz was instrumental in this, rescheduling cannabis medicines to Schedule 3.
Yes.
Now, the biggest thing, and Dr. Oz talked about, he says, this will get rid of a whole bunch of red tape that's preventing medical research on cannabis.
Correct. At which point it's going to drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only people that could do cannabis research was the government. Generally, before that, there was some.
So there was one I went to a pretty big conference that Laureate Institute for Brain Research put on. It was at TU. Dr. Clancy, the president of TU, who's also a medical doctor.
Okay.
He, at the same time he was president of TU, he was teaching at the Schusterman campus for OU, and I was on the waiting list because they first of all wanted, clinicians there. And then they freed up and they said, okay, definitely want you to get, grab one of these. And during a break, I talked to one of the researchers that was presenting, Dr. Hudson from University of Colorado, Boulder.
Okay.
And he was one of the few that actually was doing some research. And he spent the first part of his presentation talking about all the hoops he had to jump through.
Right.
And a lot of those hoops were the university's legal team.
Right.
Put all kinds of restrictions because they're all concerned about lawfare. And we can't do it on university property. Okay. We'll go to their homes. Well, see, if we go to their home, then we've got some liability issues in their home if we do. And so finally I said, okay, how about we just get a mobile unit, a van, where we can do this? Okay, yeah, that'll work. And then the marijuana they had to get from University of Mississippi, which is the only licensed place that can grow it, is their ag department there. For like 50 years, that was the only place that was licensed to grow. And what Dr. Hudson said is, it is the worst pot you've ever smoked. But they said they really didn't have a hard time getting recruits on the university campus area. But he said they did have some eyebrows when they say, hey, you want some pot? Come get in my van. That brought down the house when he said that.
Of course.
But the people, was like, well, no, I want to help you, but haven't you got any better pot than this? No. Well, can I bring my own? Sure.
Well, that then just changed the study.
But it was so humorous talking about all the hoops he had to jump through.
Right.
And I got to talk to him afterwards because one of my son's friends died. First time he had cannabis there. I've told you that story. In fact, you were with me when his parents reported on it to a social group. Yeah. And anyway, it's really interesting, all the things they had to go through. But then University of Texas at Dallas was another one. Francisca Philbay was the presenter on that. And she said, my research completely, well, this was me questioning her afterwards out in the hall. She says, yeah, this pretty much dispels the pot slacker reputation.
Okay.
And what we did agree is if you smoked regularly for 6 years or more, it starts to have that accumulative effect of you just kind of want to veg out.
Oh, okay.
But she said young men especially were more motivated in a positive way afterwards.
I didn't know that.
But she said their instinct for self-protection, though, went down. And she said to me afterwards, she says, that's a real concern. And I told her, I says, as president of NAMI Tulsa, we're trying to help, particularly right now, veterans coming back from multiple deployments.
Okay.
And we're looking at it as an anxiety treatment. And I said, people who come into this, potential treatment already have their anxiety out the wall. So anything that lessens that anxiety is therapeutic. And she kind of went like this and like this. She says, everybody that was allowed to be part of her research could not have any mental health issues. So everybody we didn't have that need. She says, I didn't stop to think about it as a therapeutic for somebody who is already so anxious and worrisome and afraid. And she says, yeah, we've got to go look at that as a therapeutic. So my feedback to her kind of helped, open her eyes on it.
Right.
But yeah, so those were some of the things. And those were the only two presenters nationwide. And the Tulsa conference was, I think there were three. It was the big one where all the newest research was being reported. And really, I asked, I went to my pharmacy because remember right after 788 passed, the health department decided to make a new rule that you must be a licensed pharmacist in order to dispense.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
I was proved right.
Yeah. So I went down to my pharmacy and I said, ma'am, where'd you get your pharmacy education? She says, University of Oklahoma. So, okay, did they teach you on cannabis medicine? No,
of course not.
And then Dr. Clancy at this same conference, he gets up, speaks last. He said, the juniors, people in second year, actually, in medical school, complained and said, this is now a new medicine, and we're getting zero education on it.
Right.
So he came up with his own primer and taught it to them, just for the second year students. And then the rest of them said, hey, we want it too. So he teaches that. And then he tells us, he says, and next week I'm flying up to, is it South Bend or East Bend?
Oregon?
No, Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
He says Notre Dame's medical school said, come teach us too.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Because there's such a lack of good education in it.
Right.
So I'm saying that to say on this rescheduling cannabis medicine, and look, this isn't me advocating for more use or against it. I'm saying we have a chance to get smarter if it's done right.
Well, that's the problem with prohibition is prohibition from just the subjective, from the scientific aspect of things, stifles understanding. As I talked with a Tulsa PD captain right before he got up and told everybody in the room the exact opposite of what he told me in my seat. And we were sitting next to each other.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm a civil libertarian. I don't like prohibition. We were talking about how if we had do away with prohibition, we could actually talk about moderation. But since that cannot be talked about, and especially in this symposium where police and DAs were speaking and things like that, we can't have a talk about moderation because you can't allow anything. And so prohibition does that to the discussion. And I, of course, am against it from the legal perspective. Right. And from a rights perspective. And so he tells me all of that, and then he gets right back up and talks, has a whole spiel about how we have to make sure prohibition remains forever, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, wait a minute. Gentner Drummond just announced something. He was criticizing Governor Stitt about 788 and the legalization of medical marijuana.
Right.
And he said that we've got to rein it back in and restrict it in order to get rid of the cartels in the black market. Now, you tell me what's wrong with that logic.
It's exactly the opposite. And this is the problem.
What creates black markets?
Yeah, black prohibition is the only thing that creates black markets. A lack of, and it's almost always a lack of created by prohibitions. The reason that we had a restriction of food and everything else during World War II was because of one thing, and that was earlier in the earlier 30s, FDR had wanted to control agriculture, to control prices. And in so doing, he created this scheme whereby they only produced just enough and no more so that everybody's price could stay high, supposedly. But now that we were on a war footing, we couldn't figure out how to get there fast enough. They couldn't change the laws quick enough, and this and that, and the other thing. And so people were left without. And it was only because of prohibition that would have happened. Because if people were free, then they would have just started growing what was necessary.
Because my grandmother told me, and she showed me some of her ration stamps.
Yes.
It wasn't whether or not you had the money to go buy a loaf of bread, but did you also have a government-issued ration stamp that was permission to buy your ration of bread?
Correct. And it was for bread, for tires, for gasoline, for cars. You couldn't buy a car for the warriors.
Yeah, too much consuming going on.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, because everything had been changed over, nobody was making new stuff, generally speaking. And it's understandable. We hadn't grown to where we're at today, but we have, since World War II, we have not had rationing except for gas rationing in the early 70s.
Yeah.
Other than that, we have not had.
In that, it was the filling stations that got the rations, not the consumers.
Correct. And they would be out. And it was because of the embargo. We weren't getting oil from OPEC because we weren't willing to pump it ourselves. Again, a prohibition forced on the rest of us that led to it. Without the government disallowing local production, domestic production, we would have been fine. I mean, look at all the years since.
Okay.
So
let's go to the vaccine issue.
Sure.
The number of things happen. So first of all, we shouldn't be encouraging a whole bunch of vaccines. They have not made any vaccines illegal, to my knowledge. The only thing that they've restricted is their advisories on how much mercury, which is a very toxic thing, is put in vaccines.
You're talking about I'm not quite following what you're.
The child vaccine schedule has been just moved back quite a bit. They're not saying you need 50 vaccines in your childhood years. Now the recommended number has shrunk, and I don't have the details on it.
Right.
But they said, any other vaccine you want to get, we're not stopping you.
Oh, yeah.
We're just giving advice because every school district and every state health department wants to go by the CDC recommendation.
Correct. Now, here's the problem. The problem is so multi-leveled, but no other person on earth has a right to dictate what you give to your child for health, prevention, treatment, or whatever.
Right.
No other person on earth has a right to your child except the ones who bore them.
Right.
And unless and until those parents prove themselves to be unworthy and are attained as dangerous to their children. And
burden of proof is on the government.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all of these dictates, these vaccine mandates, are facially unconstitutional.
Well, the way they do it, they play this passive aggressive game because it's really the state that tends to be the enforcer. But they say, we can't help. The CDC said this is what we're supposed to do.
Correct. But the thing is, what they do is they take just what they did with COVID. They take a recommendation and turn it into a dictate.
Exactly.
And then enforce it as though they have dictatorial power over the rest of us.
Right.
And that is the problem.
Right.
A recommendation is only ever a recommendation.
But they don't back it up with evidence and argument and prove their case. They say the Center for Disease Control.
Well, let's take it into the ridiculous.
Okay.
Let's say they come up with a vaccine that is 100% safe, is 100% effective, and keeps you from ever getting the thing and giving it to anybody else. Do you have the right to decline?
No. I mean, you have the right to decline. They can't force you to do it, is really I'm saying. No.
That's the point.
Well, because it's who owns my body? I do.
And that's what we have to remind ourselves over and over and over again. The problem is that they claim that it's all of these things. And this is my argument to all my health freedom friends.
Yeah.
Is it's never about the product and whether the product is safe or not. I have the right to decline even if it is.
Yeah. In fact, we fought this.
That's where we have to focus is individual rights.
We fought this at the legislature over the last 10 years, you and I and a bunch of people. Yeah. And one of the things that really bothered me is they kept wanting to fight for religious exemption. Well, the problem with that is some of our opposition doesn't necessarily have to do with an orthodox religion. It has to do with philosophy of socialism. Because it's not socialism with my money, but they're practicing socialism with my health. Because they decide little Johnny here is too sickly. He can't risk a vaccine. Right. So they want everybody around him to be forced to be vaccinated to help protect Johnny. Herd immunity.
Right.
The problem is everybody else takes a risk to try to help mitigate his risk.
So
that's socialism.
It is socialism. It is pure tyranny. And what it isn't is equality. Because if we all have the same privileges and immunities, then I can't dictate to you because we're on an equal footing.
Right.
As soon as I can dictate to you, I have set myself above you.
Right.
And only by asserting yourself equally as hard can you maintain the equality. And that's why those people who really are arrogant.
Yeah.
It's really arrogance that would have them claim, "Oh, I'm better than you. I can tell you can't."
Well, and then they're leaving it up to you. You have to hire some doctor who will make your case for you why you should get an exemption. And then it becomes politics over who gets exceptions and who doesn't when you play that game.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. Do atheists not have rights?
That's my point. That's why I say the religious exemption's not enough.
It's never enough. It was kind of the straws that everybody grasped for. The problem was all too many of the people fighting for religious exemptions think it's legitimate. They actually think the prohibition or the dictate is at least semi-legitimate. And this is just what we can get away with.
Yeah.
A lot of them recognize that it's illegitimate, but they never try to go after the prohibition in the first place because they just see it as too big a bite to take on.
Yeah.
Too big a bite of the apple. And it's like, but how do you defeat that elephant or eat the elephant? One bite at a time. So you have to start working on it, but you have to work on that and not the wrong things.
Yeah. So true. So then the other thing was the food pyramid got flipped upside down.
Loved that. Yeah. I fought the new one when it came out 35-ish years ago.
Oh yeah. Monsanto developed it, by the way.
Oh, it was the wheat growers. Oh, we knew the wheat and corn growers. Their lobby was humongous because they got the big bulk of the bottom. And so I kind of wish they had actually, rather than flipping it upside down, that they had actually just redone it in its proper order and put grains just in a real small amount at the top where it really belongs, because actually keeping it in the orders where they've taken it is good, because you need the larger amounts from the bottom, the ones that are now at the bottom. You need more of those. And so I still don't think that it quite shows what we want it to show, but it's a step in the right direction. They've got the discussion going about it, and I have been very encouraged with the scientific discussion that's come out, because and how people are showing where they just worship at the feet of those who wear a lab coat, versus people who think for themselves.
You remember you went to the health department, stayed out the board of health, and I gave you a bunch of lab coats to hand out.
Gave me 4 or 6 lab coats
because we can wear lab coats too. That's okay, right. You have not bluffed your way to anything, but they'll wear the lab coat to say I have authority.
That is right. They will dress in costume. We can dress in costume, and
that's right. And you made a mockery, which was the intent.
It was a lot of fun. I did wear mine around.
Yeah.
It didn't say that anything about anything. I just wear a lab coat. But yeah, whenever they would come down, whenever doctors or whatever would come down and try to fight us on these things, they would come in scrubs or they would come in their lab coats.
Of course.
Yeah. Every single time.
Yeah. Now, I hang around those kind, particularly in mental health. I'll go to conferences because, head of a advocacy group.
Sure.
Representing families dealing with serious mental illness and stuff. and everybody's handing cards, and you know how the psychiatrists, the psychologists, they'll have this whole string of letters, initials,
Right.
and so I made up my card, and it says, let's see, David Van Rissickham, N-I-A. Anyways, and people ask, so what does that mean? Where'd you get that degree? I said, it means no initials after my name. Yeah, I can't think on the fly here, but yeah, it's just the money. And I felt like embroidering that on those lab coats. So anyway, so generally is probably the best HHS secretary you've seen in your lifetime.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Trump's the best president.
Mhm.
And by far, Bobby Kennedy and all the people that he's got working with him. I'm amazed at how they're all pulling the same direction, not because of some political weirdness, but because that's where science takes them.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. They have released stuff that other people wouldn't.
Yeah.
And we're getting transparency like we've never gotten before.
Sure.
And, it's been very, very good in terms of being able to start the discussion so we can start undoing some of the tyranny that's gone on.
Sure.
Because unfortunately, people only change for a couple of reasons. One, it gets too bad, and we got there with COVID. The other is because the subjective changes sufficiently that they will take it on. Unfortunately, people don't think like me, and they don't generally change just because of the objective fact that it's just not supposed to work that way. That's all I need. It's just not supposed to work that way. Now I can then, from that point, I can then go and fill in all the reasons why subjectively, but people want to go the other way around. Up
to now, we've been having the foxes guarding the hen house. You've had the industries being regulated, getting appointed to the regulatory agencies.
Yeah, that was a big kick and a fuss when he kicked all them out. Especially the ASIP committee, kicked all everybody that was affiliated with a pharmaceutical out of the committee.
Sure.
ASIP is the childhood vaccine schedule makers. They're the ones that come up with that recommendation. I can't remember. It's a ACIP, and I can't remember what it's called. They're headquartered in at the FDA in Atlanta. Went there and protested them one time, and was down there for a conference. But that ASIP committee is where all of those vaccine schedules come from. And getting them out was a big kick. But of course, it's because they've lost control. And now we've got actual scientists that are in there. And so the discussion is changing. Yeah.
And folks, for further study on this, look up Joe Rogan's recent podcast with Robert Malone. Malone is he's an advisor, unpaid advisor to Robert Kennedy. And he talks about this. In fact, his most recent, it just came out last week. And he talks about what's going on with the swine fever in Spain. And there's a big time epidemic happening. Now, it's not swine flu, it's swine fever. And it's killing all the hogs in Europe and all the hog farmers. And they're really screwing up. And it ends up, what was it caused by? Gain of function laboratories. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He says the gain of function is still happening. Robert Malone.
Of course it is.
Robert Malone blew the whistle on a lot of that.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So you got to look that up. But anyway, getting to Trump today, tell us what happened.
Well, you talking about the Supreme Court case? Today, the Supreme Court announced a decision on I can't remember the group, but basically it was against Trump and his tariffs.
the way he implemented
them. He chose to use the IEEP or something like that. It's a set of laws that allow the president to declare a national emergency and then take several actions. Now, I've never read the law for myself, so I have to say that the contention was that the tariffs were lawful under U.S. law. Mm-hmm. The Trump administration was trying to get this question moved to an international court, a court over international affairs, and because their tariffs are lawful. But the question in this particular case came to whether or not American law forbade the president to take these actions if it amounted to creating a new tax on Americans. Effectively a tax. It's not a direct tax, but it means that prices go up because the prices of imports go up. So therefore generally prices go up because it's done by the government. It effectively is a tax. And I'm giving you a really broad view of the concept of what they were arguing. It's not specific by any stretch. And 6-3, the justices came back and said that it did violate those statutes. It's not about being constitutional or unconstitutional. I have not read their opinion, so I just didn't get a chance to do it. Too busy on too many other things.
I've got an update if you want it.
Yeah.
So, because I called you just a few minutes after it got announced this morning, or you called me, actually. And I said, you know what, by showtime tonight, I'm sure we'll have this broken down. And sure enough, I went to a particular site where they went into the dissenting opinion written by Brett Kavanaugh, who all of a sudden has become a celebrity of the mega bunch.
Well, before we go there, until you actually read the opinion, and of course, the first thing happens is everybody that's for Trump hates everybody that voted against it, and loves the three that dissented. Everybody on the other side is exactly the opposite. But here's the point. Who was right? I until you read the opinion, you won't know. Until you read the law, you won't know. But nonetheless, now we get to your point.
Okay, well, and this was actually New York Times. Journalist said Justice Kavanaugh wrote that although he firmly disagreed with the outcome, the decision might not substantially constrain the president's ability to order tariffs going forward. Kavanaugh laid out several potential pathways for the president to impose tariffs, adding that these other federal statutes might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs at issue in this case. He added, however, that those statutes might require additional steps, findings, reviews, things like that, going through a process. And he listed several specific sections of several federal laws, including the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, 1974, 1930, and stuff. So, basically, Kavanaugh says, you know what? You got the answer, but when the math teacher said, show your work, you got it wrong because you didn't get there the right way.
Well, and this is one of the things about the Supreme Court. They answer a very narrow case. It doesn't mean that there aren't other ways to accomplish the same thing. So, go back to Marbury versus Madison. Marbury asked for the wrong
Now that's the wheat farmer.
Marbury versus Madison is back when Marbury was given a judgeship by John Adams. Thomas Jefferson comes in and Marbury is not given his certificate,
Okay.
his
Credentials.
warrant, his credentials. And that has to be delivered by the Secretary of State, who eventually is Madison. Marbury versus Madison.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So Marbury is saying it follows the law.
I've been appointed.
And says and makes an application for a particular writ. And it goes straight to the Supreme Court because that's what the law calls for.
Mm-hmm.
The answer was, yes, we think you've been wronged here, Marbury, at all, because he wasn't alone. There were some other judges in on it with him. And we think you've been wronged, but the law that you're following is unconstitutional. And we don't have the authority to do this. Now, here's the thing. Marbury had other remedies he never pursued.
Yeah, there you go.
And so the thing is that whenever you get a Supreme Court case, you have to look, are there other remedies?
Yeah.
And you just pick the wrong one and they're just setting the story right.
Mm-hmm.
So go pick another remedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Trump will do here is he'll just choose the right remedy.
Yeah.
At least one that'll pass this particular branch, the judicial branch, and everything will be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, from his perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into whether or not tariffs are good or bad,
but
or whatever. That's a separate issue.
Imposing his, dissent for which Alito and Thomas concurred. He goes into all this.
Correct.
He doesn't have to. He kind of signaled,
right.
It's like your teacher saying, here's how to get to the right answer.
Right. Well, and which is unusual for judges.
Yeah.
Because they always tell you, I'm not supposed to give legal advice.
Yeah.
Here's the Supreme Court justice giving legal advice to the Trump team.
Yeah.
And so it's a little out of place, but I think his point was it's irrelevant. Why didn't you just take this up? And again, that's where it becomes interesting to read Supreme Court cases from time to time, because it's like, did they even get it right? You know me, I'm telling you, even when they get it right, they're getting it wrong. And they're making more problems than they're often helping.
Yeah.
But the point is that you have to read through it because they may have gotten it wrong.
Yeah. So we've got basically a narrow ruling, and they're rescinding the case down for adjudication. Right. So they did not say you got to give the tariff money back, but that's coming.
Well, they're going to try to say something. Now, it is American companies who brought suit against the federal government.
Yeah, importers.
The importers.
Yeah.
So they may get money back. The countries themselves get nothing. And
I don't know if the person buying pays the tariff or if the seller, foreign seller.
It depends upon the tariff.
Yeah.
Because you can't tax directly an American. It all has to be uniform. Taxation has to be uniform across the United States. So the point is, you are taxing the originator, the exporter, bringing it into the country.
Yeah.
That then results in the importers paying a higher price.
Yeah.
They would be getting money back, but it would be the foreign country's money being given to Americans. I don't see how that works either.
Yeah, because the term that's used synonymously with tariff is a duty.
Correct.
You're paying a duty upon bringing it into the country.
Yeah, if you think about it, go back to the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
So the East India Tea Company or the East India Company brings it in. They would be charged the duty.
Yes.
They would be.
Upon unloading it from the ship, right? I think that's why it stayed on the ship.
Right. The importer would be the American receiving it on the dock, and he would have to pay the higher price with the duty attached. And however the exporter, the East India Tea Company would handle that, how much they would absorb, how much they would pass on to the customer.
Whoever owns it when it comes on shore.
Pretty much. They're the ones that have to pay the duty.
That's a simplified version of it. Yeah. And it works for us. Trump announced this afternoon, issued a new executive order using other statutory framework. And he said, now, in fact, Scott Bessent was speaking in Dallas right afterwards. And he said there's going to be some process involved.
Right.
Of hearings and findings and all that.
Right.
So, and I don't know if it's public comment periods or whatever.
Right.
But nonetheless, so it looks like nothing's going to really change.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I think it's been a lot for nothing.
I think Trump's detractors are celebrating just because it's a moral victory for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So anyway, that's going on. The other thing, speaking of shipping and stuff, is an Armada. And I remember I had to know this in 7th grade social studies. What happened in 1587? The defeat of the Spanish Armada.
Correct.
That's the only time I'd ever used the word Armada.
By the English.
Yes. Right. And how it happened. Did you know how this happened?
The which?
Well, the Spanish ships were the most powerful ships.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, at the time.
And what the British decided is they were going to use the element of swiftness and speed. And so their ships were faster.
Right.
And they suckered the Spanish Armada into the straits there, right. The English Channel, at a time when the weather was particularly difficult.
Okay.
And they would, kind of get close enough. It was a kind of a goose chase. But once the Spanish big old bulky ships got in, you go up into the North Sea and you can't come back. You got to go all the way around the north side of Scotland in the winter.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of a sudden, the Spanish lost the fight that was in them.
Gotcha.
And gotcha. They kind of limped back home. They lost some ships. It was rough.
Oh, gotcha.
They were not ready for that kind of weather.
Right.
And so, and the British built ships that could get around in those kind of currents and stuff.
Gotcha.
So
anyway,
So that's how the defeat of the Spanish.
So that's how Lord Nelson won that. Huh? Yeah. I haven't actually studied that.
According to my 7th grade social studies teacher, which I've learned, you should probably question everything you learn in public school.
Go back and redo it. They do have some movies about that.
Yeah.
And some various plays and things like that, because the British looked at that as such a big point in history. They talk about it a lot.
Well, we were told,
or used to anyway.
And it was Lowell Broughton, my 7th grade social studies teacher, says, if not for that event, you kids would be speaking Spanish, because control of the Western world changed at that point.
Yeah, it did.
So eventually, Spain kept, withdrawing from the New World.
Right.
From that. And
I've always wondered why Spain never took over Portugal, because they were so powerful at the time, and Portugal and Spain kind of had an agreement. They did different sides of the world.
This is why royalty marries their cousins.
That could be. I've never understood it, because it's like Portugal should, Spain could just swallow Portugal without any trouble whatsoever.
They could. But this is why you use arranged marriages to survive, Yeah. And everybody
speak a different language too.
Yes.
I mean, slightly different.
Yeah. So, and boy, there was a lot of it. I've been studying, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th century.
Oh, all the arranged marriages.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, the emperor of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you remember the movie Amadeus?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Remember at one point he says, my sister Antoinette is afraid to go out in the Paris streets.
Right.
Remember, she was beheaded eventually. Right. Okay. See, his sister was married into King Louis's family. So
it was
just because the French, didn't really get along with the Austrians, but they played nice if it was family.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
anyway, but we're talking about armadas. So let's talk about the big armada. And I don't really have real numbers, and I don't think the military wants us to have real numbers.
I don't think they do.
But, and it's not just ships coming in. It's like cargo planes that are just constantly coming in.
Right.
So they are loading.
Where are they coming in to?
Emirates, Qatar, all along the south coast of the, we called it the Persian Gulf, but then we've learned it's the Arabian Gulf, depending on which side of the Gulf you live on. Right. Like Mexico still thinks it's the Gulf of Mexico, right?
Right.
Yeah. And anyway, so, you saw what happened in Nicaragua. No, not Nicaragua, Venezuela.
Right.
And it was kind of like, okay, is this going to happen? Then it looked like it wasn't. And then bam, it happened. Just
right.
And so I think Trump kind of sent a message there. It could happen any moment, like a thief in the night.
Right. Well, this has been working for the last 45 days. Mm-hmm. Trump promised the freedom fighters in Iran that he would do something to help them gain freedom from the Islamic mullahs in that run Iran. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people knew this, but Iran killed about 30,000 people in 2 days.
That's the best reports we have.
And that's the numbers roughly. They're not able to keep people from reporting from within Iran anymore, and that's good. But they were cracking down on anybody with a Starlink phone or anything like that. Those kinds of things they were getting really harsh on. And Trump told them that if they were doing this, if they kept this up, then he was going to do something big. He wouldn't say what, but he was sending them very clear messages. And Trump is the kind of guy who sends a message like that with a picture of your house. and lets you know that he knows where you are, when you are, and everything else, and that kind of a thing. And the hope is that these people would step down and leave, and everything would be better in Iran, because it is not good. They have squandered, the Islamic regime has squandered so much. I mean, their rivers are drying up, their lakes have dried up. They've got Tehran is on water rationing. Mm-hmm. They don't have enough of anything. They've mishandled everything that there is to mishandle. They've got rampant inflation. They're just inflating their money, printing money like it's going out of style. That's what Saddam Hussein was doing just before he did everything. Remember Mark Costello never gave out business cards. He gave out Zimbabwe $1 million bills. And so I still have my $1 million Zimbabwe bill. And they had a boom in Zimbabwe for a little while, and Mark told me that it was actually that $1 million bill was actually cheaper for him to buy than a business card. That's why he gave them out. But also to talk about and make the point that fiat money is no better than the paper it's written on. But he told me that at one point, just before we lost him, that he'd had to switch, and he could only buy stacks of $500,000 bills anymore. And that was because the price of the $1 million bills got a little more expensive. They had a boom, and so the value of their money went up a little bit against the dollar.
How about that?
So he was handing out $500,000 bills, and that's what you might have to hand over lots of those things because their money just meant nothing. And that's what's going on in Iran right now. Like it or not, the practice of our government is that Congress basically empowers the president like a king. And so we're going to get all this buildup. We're going to probably have some limited action and something, or people are going to actually leave for the betterment of the people. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
So if we were to follow, well, it could be a number of things. When a dictator gets deposed, he's either killed by the mob,
right,
arrested by the country that comes in and, takes over,
right,
such as Panama and Venezuela. Both times
Sure.
the U.S. government put them on trial here.
Sure.
Okay, for breaking our laws. Usually, dumping narcotics and all that.
Right.
Well, and then you've got the Assad narrative where, boom, off he goes to Russia. Right. Or Nigerian guy took off, went to, had safe haven in England. Khomeini actually had exile in Paris.
Yep. And
right?
we took the Shah in.
Yes,
when
okay.
Overthrew the Shah.
So where does this bunch of clerics get refuge if they flee?
About the only place I could see them going. I could see them going to a number of places, perhaps some places close to Iran, but not Iran, like Qatar, like even though those are not necessarily Shia strongholds, because they
keep in mind they're not Arab. The Arabs hate the Persians generally.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Really, I think there's a cultural difference, Persian to Arab. There is a big and probably the most significant difference is the Sunni versus Shia branches of Islam.
Yeah.
They hate each other.
Yeah.
And so you have the Sunnis, Saudi Arabia, and I don't know all the Gulf states and what they are.
Iraq was largely Sunni.
No, actually, Iraq is mostly Shia.
Well, okay.
It was the Sunnis because Saddam Hussein was Sunni.
That's right. Sunnis
but it
controlled.
was the minority controlling the majority.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And,
I was wrong there.
And so I could see him going to Iraq. Or them, because it's a whole council. It's a whole gaggle of people that are going to have to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I also see them potentially going to Afghanistan or Pakistan, although I don't know the religion up there to the same degree. The other places I see might be toward Indonesia, because Indonesia is mostly Muslim and I believe Shia. Yeah. But I could be wrong on that. Don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
But so I
keep in mind last
you're
time
go to a very small number of places.
Okay.
Maybe Russia, because Russia is into doing that right.
Well, there's a reason. There's a reason that won't happen.
Off the table.
It was actually with Khomeini back in the 70s, made a deal with the Soviet Union. And he was exiled in Paris, and he's sending his cassette tapes in and getting the people really worked up.
Right.
But they also, the Soviets were working with the college students there, really pushing socialism.
Right.
And in the name of freedom from this, oppressive Shah,
right,
the college students rebelled. And it was them who did the
socialists. It was a communist.
But then they got screwed over because Ayatollah Khomeini came in and infuriated the Soviet Union. They stabbed the Soviet Union in the back. Khomeini did.
Right, because they destroyed communists. They executed all the communists.
Yeah.
They did to the communists what Hitler did to the brown shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you ended up having was, and the question is, how much will a Putin hold that against them when it's 40, 50 years ago? And that's the question. That would be the question for me. I don't know. I could almost tend to see a place take them in and require them that they never communicate with anybody in their home country.
See, I think you're onto something there.
To take them off the table. By taking them off the table and making it so that we don't have the fight kind of a thing, I see that as a potential. Now, I'm no prognosticator, but I see a place that could do it. Could be one of the stands, one of the like Tajikistan or one of the stands.
Yeah.
Because those are Muslim predominantly.
Well, they're joining them around the Caspian Sea.
Correct.
Yeah, and by the way, if you look at the south shore of the Caspian Sea, is really a beautiful area of Iran.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Resort areas in that. I don't know.
They've got to get out of Iran. They've got to get. They're either going to get dead or they're going to get to some place, and I can't see anybody allowing them to come in and then allowing them to try to stir things up.
I think any country that takes them in is going to restrict their activities. Yeah. Their civil rights will be restricted
severely.
And it probably, the wheels will get greased by Western money, a buyout. Say, hey, if you'll be the custodian of these people, we'll pay you so much a year to keep them in house arrest.
I could see that.
So it's not costing you to keep those people there.
Right. I could totally see that. Give them a big, a big compound kind of a thing. They can live amongst themselves, but don't allow anything. They're basically under arrest. They're just going to live out there.
Yeah, a house arrest kind of thing. And
Khomeini he's old. I mean, he's 85 plus, maybe 89. Yeah. So he's old. So he's not got long. But the others are all sorts of ages. You will see a cleaning of house in Iran when this happens, because there have been those people, the people that killed the woman because she miswore her hijab, and then they killed her while she was in custody. That will be a problem. And it wasn't that she wasn't wearing one. It was that she miswore it. So it wasn't done just right to somebody. So they arrested her. And then she died in prison, which is part of what got all of this kicked off 2-3 months ago. But it's been in the last 45 days-ish that it really hit.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer than that. Maybe it's been 2 months. But
I've got a neighbor 3 doors down. He's from Iran. His wife's family's still there. And they're very concerned. They were very concerned last summer when the Israeli raids were hitting. Remember when all of a sudden every scientist was dead one morning?
Right.
Because they knew where they all lived, and that was the Mossad intelligence.
Yeah.
And so, and then all of a sudden, the United States went in with the bunker busters.
Right.
And did the part that only the United States could do. How does the Ron Paul student in you feel about all this?
Well, the constitutionalist in me thinks that there's a serious constitutional problem that we need to get Congress controlling all of this again. There's a side that says it's okay on the one hand. On the other, I mean, we go back to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and the creation of the recreation of the U.S. Navy to solve the Barbary pirate situation, which was, quite frankly, it was a Muslim problem, because they were all justifying it as jizya against all the infidels that were traveling their sea.
And they were taking in slaves of the Europeans.
Well, that's where the word slave comes from.
Okay.
It comes from Slavs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the whole thing is, white slavery was a big thing. That's where we get the word. So I think we've got a lot that we need to talk about. Am I a fan that we are trying to actually free a nation and maybe get a nation to self-rule once again.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that from the freedom side of me.
But not through the Bush doctrine of
no.
nation building.
And that's one of the things that I think Trump will get right.
Yeah.
I hope he will keep it small. He will keep us out. He will let them self-determine, which is the problem with Bush. First off, Bush is not a constitutionalist,
No.
so he doesn't understand what it takes to actually stand up a self-governing body. And that's the problem, is he understood from his tyrannical point of view how to do it. And all that did was lead to all of the corruption that we saw in Afghanistan. And they ended up getting overthrown because nobody liked what was happening.
Yeah.
And they looked at us askance because we were the ones that were forcing them into all of this stuff that they didn't want. And their form of government doesn't look like ours. So we've got to allow them to do that.
There's a homeless guy in Albuquerque that's been missing for a couple of weeks, and I'm wondering why the news media isn't covering it every day like they are the Tucson
case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they don't have their the old guy's daughter isn't on TV.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Now you remember it used to be you had to be a pretty little co-ed in order to get that kind of media attention.
Well, she started out as a pretty little co-ed.
Yeah, but Savannah's not the one that's missing. It's her mother.
Yeah, but it's Savannah's looks. It's got everybody looking at her mother.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Savannah, you wouldn't see everything you see now. It's amazing how the propagandist media looks out for itself and cares about when one of theirs goes missing, but not so much when it's very calculated about who they pick up otherwise.
Yeah, but between Greta Van Susteren and Nancy Grace, and it was always, where's the next hot chick who's missing or got raped? Or,
well, of course.
But
But
it's got to be a hot chick.
Well, yes. The hot chick in this case was just tangentially, it's her mother. So, and she's rich. So, why didn't you, there's scandal. Why didn't you pay the money?
And it wasn't an exotic Caribbean island that she disappeared on.
Right.
But I'm sorry. Sometimes I refuse to cover the story.
Well, it is a propagandist media who feeds on itself. And so.
But housewives eat it up.
Oh, yeah.
Not just women, men do too.
There's old ancient Israeli proverbs that talk about, like tasty morsels and stuff like that
I still quote David Brinkley, famous quote from back in the 70s. He said, the media can't tell you what to think. They can tell you what to think about.
Right.
And
they even try to tell everybody what to think. Nowadays,
yeah.
I mean, they've just
that was in the 70s.
They pulled everything off, and it's not like Brinkley was a great Republican.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he absolutely.
But I thought he was candid.
Yeah,
because it was him at a round table with Brinkley, Howard Smith, and Harry Reasoner. All of them. They were having a round table of all the big. Anchors.
They were, and that was in that day because things hadn't fully changed. But even then, when they were telling you what to think about, because they were presenting it, at the same time, they had to be more careful, but they were throwing in editorial words.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, just look at the adjectives that go to describe the situation, the noun and the verb, the adverbs and the adjectives. Is I tell people all the time, look at those, because the choice of those words tells you the bent of the person and where you're, the writer or the editor creating the headline and everything else.
See, this is
the paper.
This is why I'm more successful than you, because you're an activist and a protester, but I'm an advocate.
Okay. That's right.
See, and that's just it. Pat Campbell always said, he who defines the terms controls the debate.
Well, that's absolutely true. It happened in our constitutional convention because Patrick Henry, George Mason, and those people became known as the anti-federalists, but they were promoting federalism. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? Well, you never want to be anti, you always want to be for something. So the majority started changing everything and had control of the media. And basically they just changed it. It's like Karen during COVID started out against us, those of us who were fighting for freedom and pushing back. We were the Karens. Well, we turned it around on them. Yeah. And so now it's a negative. They thought it was a negative, but we took it and showed no, only the tyrants are negative. But the anti-federalists actually ended up winning the debate. Yeah. They lost in a sense on the Constitution because it passed anyway, but they got their Bill of Rights. And so that happened. But the whole thing was they're antis. Yes. And that's what they did to them. Yeah. And it happened to work out that way. And so,
it's always about what you're for. I remember Pat Campbell used to, on air, he would read some of my articles, like when we were debating 788. Okay. I didn't call it pot, it was cannabis medicines. And then when they're trying to regulate it and everything, didn't call them the pot growers. They were family farms.
Right.
They were farmers.
Well, because that's what they are.
Yes. But some of our friends, the older crowd at Tulsa 912,
sure.
I mean, they hated it. And what was their opposition? It was culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Sadly, there is a culture of a prohibitionary culture that here, especially in the Bible Belt, this stuff is preached in church. And I warn that if you have this kind of mindset, you need to really rethink your religion, because it is exactly counter and fighting what God has set up within our society. Yeah. And who are we fighting then? Yeah. We're fighting God. Well, how are you a Christian and fight God? You can't have it both ways.
I think Preston Dorflinger was in a scandal at a particular time. And
which one?
Yeah. Well, Trent England used to do a morning radio show out of Enid, and I'd pick it up online. I love Trent. I mean, the guy had some of the best singers. One of them was because Preston Dorflinger said he didn't break any laws, right?
Okay.
Trent said, never outsource your moral outrage to the legal code.
Right.
Right. And I came up with another one, say, if your sense of right and wrong is determined by a statutory law, your God is the state.
Right. Right. Well, I was taught in school that there's the spirit of the law and then there's the letter of the law.
Yeah.
And you've got to be going for the spirit. If you're not going for the spirit, then you've got a problem. Yeah. Now, the letter gives us the how, but the spirit gives us the what and what we should be doing. And then the how we get there is kind of the law should be kind of the guardrails, if you will. Remember the driving ride at Disneyland back in the day. You had that center.
Oh yeah,
center thing.
You thought you were driving it.
Well, you were.
You do a little.
Well, you were, because as long as if you didn't hit that thing, you could go back and forth.
Yes.
But the law is that center rail that keeps you on the course.
Yeah.
Keeps you going. It allows you to go as fast as you can go. Yeah. In those little cars, but as fast as you can go and controlling it all yourself.
Up to a foot to the left or a foot to the right. That's all.
That's right.
But you were driving.
But you got to steer it the whole way through. And the whole goal was never to hit.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can do that, never hit it, then you've mastered it. Well,
they were teaching you conformity, David.
No, I was going to say that the driving was the spirit, and the not hitting the rails. The rail was there for our security, for our safety, because otherwise people would be driving off into the woods, accidentally and causing problems.
In fact, you've said in the past, because I mean we've done podcasts, you know, to that point, no, man, I just lost it. Boom, it's gone.
It'll come back.
Yeah, but regulation.
Yeah.
For instance, the difference between prohibition and regulation.
Correct.
Regulation allows the optimal use of a public resource, such as drive on the right.
Correct.
Because if everybody just drove anywhere they want, everything would be clogged up and nobody get to use it, right?
Right.
So regulation says, here's how to share so that you can use it as much as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Prohibition is different than that.
Absolutely.
It's where they start saying you can only drive so many. You have a quota of how much you can drive, all things like that.
Or only this person or only that person.
Yeah. Or if you got a license and pay all these fees.
Well, and that starts with nobody can drive.
Yeah.
And then, and there is constitutionally one prohibition that was granted to Congress.
What?
Do you know that?
What is it?
Slavery.
Oh, there you go.
And so it was actually slavery and migration. So, and so it was called the importation and migration of persons.
Okay.
Cannot be prohibited by Congress until the year 1808.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the one and only prohibition that is ever in our Constitution.
Wow.
We then passed alcohol prohibition in a boneheaded move that our great-grandparents all participated in.
Yeah.
Grandparents and great-grandparents. But that set us on a different form. Basically, you have a tyrannical form of government. When we saw that, that was so bad that everybody turned that around for the most part, left in some statewide approval for states to prohibit.
Okay.
If you can prohibit, you can then do all things short of prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
You can dictate anything short of the abject prohibition.
Yeah.
So, but you can't do that when you don't have the authority. Mm-hmm. So since the government doesn't have the authority to keep us from driving or carry a gun, rather exactly the opposite, then they can't issue a prohibition and then a licensing scheme. Wait
a minute. You talked to Jeb Bush and he said license is liberty.
He said liberty is license.
Oh, liberty is license.
Therefore, he needs to issue them.
Yes.
So that you can exercise your liberty. No, that's not what he said, but he did say liberty is license.
Oh, okay.
And meaning that if I, Jeb Bush, let you go free, you'll just run amok. Is the idea, the concept of what he was saying.
Okay, that's the Hobbes philosophy.
Oh, that's
Locke versus Hobbes, the great debates.
Oh, yes, and that's the vast majority of Republicans.
You without somebody to control you, you are evil. You will do wrong. Yeah,
and that is the conversation I have had with every single person who sits on a licensing board. Is they are the saviors, saving us from all the evildoers in their industry or whatever they're licensing, that without them and their unconstitutional actions, and denying people, threatening people, denying people the ability to do whatever they're licensing.
Yeah.
Without that, then everything would be just run amok.
Yeah.
Would be abject chaos. Only licensing keeps that in check, is their argument. they would say the court system can't accomplish.
I met your son, Josh, before I met you.
Right.
At the time, we were in the heat of the 2012 presidential debate.
Right.
And he was big Ron Paul supporting organizer, really. Josh was effective organizer. I met you the next year and stuff, and I slowly migrated to the enlightenment of liberty, constitutional freedoms, and I now realize why Ron Paul scared the daylights out of the Republican Party, because it's this Locke versus Hobbes philosophy.
Correct.
You know, and the statists versus the free citizens.
Yeah, I like to call it tyrants versus free, or tyrants versus tyranny versus liberty. And it literally comes down to that, because the tyrant will use the power of government, or the state, the statist, as it were. The problem is the terms get lost. We can definitely see it if you talk tyranny.
Yeah.
And anybody who's infringing on your rights is acting tyrannically, and it's just that simple. We can keep it that simple and then talk about, name the issue, and let's talk about it. And it's easy to find.
Well, I'm going somewhere with this, David. Okay. I have no idea what's on your syllabus, but you've got a conference that's starting up that people can be part of online, right?
Yes.
And was I getting warm here?
I guess you are now. I wasn't following.
But I'm talking about the kinds of things we just got done discussing, the principles.
Yes.
And that. So this is your chance to pitch what you've got coming up and tell the people how they can get involved.
All right. Well, with my friends at We the People USA, or excuse me, We the Patriots USA.org. I teach a regular Constitution course for the next 3 Mondays. You may tune in. Just go to WeThePatriotsUSA.org and you can sign up to participate within our StreamYard group, or you can find us on Rumble, YouTube, or X. X has been having some troubles, but we are going to be broadcasting. These will be free courses, and we are going to, this next Monday, we're going to be talking about these basic principles. It's not just prohibition versus tyranny versus liberty, but the basic principle stuff. And we'll be talking about that and some other things and how we apply that to things that we face today. And then we'll be talking about those kinds of things for the next 3 weeks. And then you may continue and learn more about the Constitution and how it applies to all of us every day by continuing as a donor. We the Patriots USA is a not-for-profit, pro bono, public interest law firm. And so what happens is people come in with cases that affect not just themselves, but the society at large. And so we want to make sure that work continues, because we're getting cases to the Supreme Court. We're getting cases doing all sorts of things. In fact, we've got a bill that I'd like to get our legislative cohort from Oklahoma to look at, where we change all of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to include basically vaccines as a health or medical choice as a right, and therefore it'll be enumerated into statutes, and nobody can ever question you.
The basic right is I own my body.
Correct.
Okay.
We phrased it in just added a word to the Civil Rights Act in several different places, and by so doing, it actually gets done what we need. We need more. We need to completely go through the Civil Rights Act and actually make it agree with the 5th and 14th Amendments, among others, but also the 9th and 10th. But we need those kinds of things. We will get there, but this is a stopgap. This is the group that's doing that. I've worked with them for a number of years, and so I really happy to work with them and give my time.
Because this series is starting, or is it an ongoing?
It's already starting. It's a free course for the next 3 weeks. After that, give $25 a month, and you can keep taking the courses. I'm one of the benefits.
Now the courses are a gift to those who are giving to their more important work, and that's being an advocate in the courts
for those who need it.
And for those who need it.
And again, these are cases that when fought for one thing or another, there's a medical kidnapping case out of Florida. These will have repercussions around the country, so they could affect you. So we're doing work like so many other of the public interest law firms that are out there. We all know them, like Judicial Watch and ACLJ and things like that. It's the same kind of work. We're just in our own niche, and if it's in the Constitution, we're going to fight for it.
Yeah. Okay. At what time Monday?
7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern, 5:00 Pacific.
Okay.
Go to one of the sites and you'll be able to tune in and watch us.
So
join in on the comments.
You can go to the website, wethepatriotsusa.org.
Yes.
Or their Rumble channel.
You can go to their Rumble channel, Facebook, or X.
Okay. Yeah. And then the other thing is there opportunity for dialogue in there? Any chats or
this? When we get back into the regular course, we do everything through Zoom. So you can always, and I want more people to speak up and ask questions.
Okay.
But what we have to do is, when we're using the broadcast program, we have to actually do it with comments. So everybody can comment. We see those comments, and then we try to answer as many of the questions as we can.
Yeah.
Because we're here for you.
And you yourself here have been at times doing your constitutional grounds work. Sometimes you put on conference. You don't have anything on the schedule upcoming soon?
Not at the moment. No.
You're really working on this. And now, I believe it's some people in Connecticut or from Connecticut.
The folks at We the Patriots USA began as the Connecticut Freedom Alliance.
I remember you going out there.
Yeah, did a bunch of work for them, and then they switched gears and went federal. And then they have all left Connecticut, and they now find themselves in Idaho and find the freedom just outrageously different. I mean, you've got freedom in Idaho. You've got actual constitutional carry, whether it's open or concealed. You don't need a license or a permit of any kind. And so they just are kind of gobsmacked at the difference, having grown up and gone to school and everything in blue state. Now
didn't you speak to some legislative committee when you're in Colorado? I mean, Connecticut.
Yes. Yeah, I testified before the Connecticut legislature, their house.
And that was shortly after you guys kind of caused a ruckus at the Trenton State Capitol in New Jersey.
It was just before.
Oh, it was before.
I think that was.
I thought
I get them all mixed up now, but yeah, when
you and what's the guy?
Trenton was
the guy that has the Vax movie.
Del
Bigtree.
Yes.
Well, you were there with him. I think you guys were so loud. You basically won that day.
We did.
Oh,
we did.
God.
No, I mean, again, it's a hollow victory. Talking about, we're saving religious exemptions.
Yeah.
At the time, but that was as good as we could get.
Yeah.
And to not have done that would have meant that there would have been no exemptions. It would have been just pure tyranny for vaccines in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but boy, the East Coasters, when they take up an issue and they really go at it, they go at it. And we are not used to that here in Oklahoma, especially.
Yeah.
But we were literally below their window.
Yeah.
Drums and gongs and tambourines and bullhorns. Everybody had a bullhorn. I'm like, dang, I didn't know I could do this. And whistles. And we made such a racket. There were kids in a window at a stairwell, and the window box on this stairwell was so big that these kids could sit there, but they were actually, their feet were dangling over space because the stairs were down below them. Well, they would hold up a sign telling us when to be quiet, and then they would pull it down when the bad side was talking. That's when everybody made noise, and they couldn't hear themselves talk. So they had a lot of trouble getting their debate in. And so we ended up carrying the day. But it was amazing because I am shocked that the cops didn't push us back.
I'm really surprised.
I was really surprised.
But you know what? Look, they knew those were their constituents outside there. Yeah. And you got to be careful.
Yeah.
I remember how the legislature, when 788 passed here, they all got a lot more serious about 57% of Oklahomans are okay with this.
Correct.
You know, so.
Right. Yeah. I think it was either midnight or 2 a.m. that they had a deadline to get this. I think it was midnight, actually.
Yeah. They're required to adjourn sine die.
They had sine die, and it was a particular time. I think it was midnight. And so they just had to carry it beyond midnight without a vote in order to have this thing die. Yeah. Within 2 hours of them ending, I got back to the hotel, turned on the news. It's middle of the night. Mm-hmm. They're already broadcasting that a New Jersey Democrat had submitted a bill that would require, in order to get your driver's license renewed, that as an adult you would have had to get every vaccine.
Oh my God.
And if there is not an example clear enough, this is why you can't have things like this, because then tyrants want to misuse them into social credit, and you can't participate. I mean, what's the difference between that and vaccine passport?
Okay. So here's where I'm going with this.
Sure.
The slavery issue, 150, 60, 70 years ago, it was North versus South. Okay. But not completely. I mean, there were pro-slavery people up north, but there was such a minority. They didn't have political power.
Sure.
Okay. What's happening now in this division of our nation is more urban versus rural, isn't it?
A bit. That tends to be where it's at. We've always had a urban versus rural split.
But now it's taken on a migratory aspect. People are fleeing the blue areas if they want to be, quote, free.
Right.
Move to Idaho. Sure. Or Texas or Oklahoma or Florida, or Tennessee, wherever.
Sure.
But that's happening. And we've become, polarized.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the polarization is more tyranny versus liberty.
Mm-hmm.
I think what has happened is people have accepted too much tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
And the tyrants have gone too far.
Yeah.
People are starting to claw back. They don't understand it yet. But they're starting to claw it back.
Yeah.
And even the tyrants know that they've gone too far, and a lot of them don't want it all the way back.
Right. Now, the tyranny sometimes doesn't follow that map of, like, you used to live in Tulsa, you moved to Broken Arrow.
Sure.
Okay. Felt a little freer until you found out you had a homeowner association. And because there are Karens even in the suburbs.
Oh, yes, there are. Oh, yes, there are.
But the more we live on top of each other, the more how others live impact our lives.
Of course.
And so some of those things we can't change.
Well, yeah, it's not about. I think actually they need to change in some ways. What can't change is that the restriction of your rights happens by nature when you get into more, when you have closer proximity to more people, because your rights extend to where, or the limit of your rights are the equal rights of others. And there's going to be a lot more conflict and a lot more touching of those rights and limitations, the more people you get among. So the further away you go, the more freedom you have.
You add the component of arrogance and conceit to that. And now they think they can tell you a better way to live.
Right.
Or force you to.
Well, and a lot of people, here's the thing. A lot of people want to keep that freedom. And so they're going to, in order to do that when they live in a town, so they want the benefits of the town, but they want to have the freedom of living out in the country. And so what they end up doing is they end up tyrannizing their neighbors to try to force, you're going to let me have my way on everything like I would have if I was out in the country.
Right.
And not caring about what that does to their neighbors. And that's the problem we have going on all the time. And I think it breaks down to that. Just name the issue and we'll examine how that, tends to play out.
Yeah. Okay. Alex Jones on InfoWars has, he'll post up these editorial cartoons and he shows the famous Seinfeld soup Nazi.
Okay, right.
But Ma'am Donnie is the soup Nazi saying, you pay for everyone else, but no soup for you. Let's take it one further, because in that famous episode, he would decide who gets soup, who doesn't, who he'll do business with, and who he refuse services to. But he's saying one further. He says, now you got to pay for everybody else that I choose to give soup to.
Correct.
And you still don't get any.
Right. Right. Well, welcome to communism. That's exactly what it is.
It is. Yeah.
That comes down to one of the things that we're going to talk about. One of the nights that we talk about the basics. The Fifth Amendment gives a very good and clear path to what our legislature can spend on and tax us for. It says that no private property shall be taken for public use without just compensation.
Yeah.
So the question is, if they are doing something, it's for the general welfare. They'll always say that.
We need a park, a dog park.
Okay. The thing is, where's my just compensation for the property you're taking to do this?
Right.
And if I don't have just compensation, why am I paying?
Yeah.
Why are you charging me? How do you think you can? Right now, the big loser thing is all these data centers. Now, it's not going to be the data center necessarily. Now, your city is going to be giving away your money to draw these people in.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we need basketball teams. That will be
stadiums. So my big pet peeve. But the other thing, the way that they're going to get us is the power companies. The power and water companies are passing along all of the infrastructure buildup that they need to support all of these things, and they're passing them on to us.
And the real problem is, what happens if all of a sudden we have a collapse or prohibition of AI?
Well, I don't see that happening, but
I'm saying, what if, or for whatever market reasons, all of a sudden we have these huge power plants that we no longer need but haven't been paid for?
Yeah.
Okay, David, you don't know this, but I do because I've been around here longer. There was a nuclear power plant called the Black Fox.
Okay.
That got shut down, never went online. But the question was whether PSO can charge their customers for it. It was a big political football in the 80s.
Right.
Look it up sometime. Right. The Black Fox.
Okay. Black Fox.
Yes. And because that's the thing. who decides this stuff and who gets stuck with the bill.
Right.
This is a problem we have with the Corporation Commission controlling selected monopolies because they're choosing the winners and losers.
Well, yes, it's worse because I talked to a Corporation Commission candidate about this very issue. And I said, look, the problem I'm having with all of this stuff is the two things that I just mentioned. And he said, why I'm talking to you is because I'm afraid as a ratepayer that my bill is going to go up to pay for all this infrastructure. And he's like, the legislature actually just took away power of the Corporation Commission to actually oversee that.
Wow.
And so the Corporation Commission actually has no authority to actually keep them from raising rates for those reasons on the rest of us. And he said it was a problem that he thinks they're taking up this session. Wasn't real sure at the time because this was just before session actually opened, but was hopeful that they would. And so, and he's a candidate. He's not on the Corporation Commission itself.
Jason. There's one from Broken Arrow.
Justin.
Yeah.
Justin.
Hildebrand or something like that.
Hornbeck.
Hornbeck, yeah.
So, but he was aware of it, but he was saying that he was telling me that the ability for the Corporation Commission to actually address it had been removed from their power. And so they didn't actually have a statutory authority to go in and actually regulate that. So yes, while the Corporation Commission is a problem, our legislature is a bigger one.
You know what I think it is? Do you remember when REI was going to put in this big sporting goods center at 71st and Riverside?
They have.
It's not at 71st and Riverside.
It's just out there at the next road.
71st and Riverside.
Isn't that REI?
That's where the volleyball courts are.
Yes, I know. They were going to do that. I think there's an REI at 71st. What's the next one up toward Tulsa Hills?
You're talking the west side.
The west side.
Yeah. Okay. But they were going to be on Riverside.
Correct.
And they made a deal with Dewey Bartlett using his executive branch powers until the city council put in this zoning overlay that only the city council had the authority to grant. You know what it is? It's campaign donations.
Oh, no doubt.
That's all it's about.
Right.
Because the big corporations will grease the wheels to the politician as authority to give them what they want.
Right.
But if the legislature, in this case, says, no, we will decide, well, guess who's going to get all the donations?
Well, I think in this case, it was more somebody was trying to do the right thing and they screwed it up. There were unintended consequences. And I think that was his take on it as well.
But all I'm saying, David, is sometimes it's not a reform.
Right.
Or a corruption. It just changes who gets the donations.
I mean, isn't that the criticism and the accusation against Fount Holland and his group and all of the candidates that he supports? I mean, there's been people that have been writing about that lately.
Well, what I found out, for instance, with McDougal, it was where, he and I for a while were really at each other. McDougal took money from Fount Holland's donors. The problem is McDougal became the product.
Right.
Is that they could go through Fount, and Fount says, I will deliver a legislative sponsor to your bill. But here's what you're going to have to help him get in office.
Right.
And he goes to office already being owned.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying McDougal's on Kevin. I'm not picking on you. You and I, this is in our past, okay?
He's not even in this legislature anymore.
But he's still a human being. I got to treat him respectfully.
I agree.
And look, I've learned a lot. Kevin's learned a lot.
Well, he wasn't alone.
Right. But
it doesn't work
to
unless
me.
you-
It was something I learned the hard way. Last weekend we had Dave Bond in here.
Okay.
He's their chief legislative advocate. He didn't want me to use the word lobbyist, and Eddie thought it was using a dirty word. To me, lobbyist isn't a bad word, but that's the thing. This is how it works.
Right.
It shouldn't work that way. But okay, so we've covered that. But I wanted to get back to your friends moved to Idaho to live free or freer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just now where Steven Spielberg, the famous movie maker, is getting the heck out of California.
Right.
And you're hearing a whole bunch more. I think you rattled out some names before the show.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us what's going on.
Well, right now it's the wealth tax. The people are moving away. They're moving their corporations away, and they can't afford it. They can't afford all their spending. Part of the problem with California, now it's only part, but it's a large part, is in California, the referendum process is really onerous.
Yeah.
And it's more onerous than Oklahoma. So if we have if we pass a law here, not a constitutional amendment, but a law, then our legislature can amend that. They may not want to, but they could amend it. Not so in California. And when it's passed by the people, it's now off the table. Now, I don't remember if Prop 13 was a constitutional amendment or a statute. I always thought it was.
Was that the property tax one?
That's the property tax.
Okay, that made national news.
Oh yeah,
because that was a right-wing initiative.
It was, and that
was a time when California was conservative.
No, it was not.
Well, you wouldn't call them conservative by the way you and I understand it. Intellectually and academically.
Again, you know me, I don't like the word conservative.
No, of course not. But yeah, it was the property owners trying to say no to government.
They're trying to put a limit anyway. It's the reason that the balanced budget amendment will never work. It's why we have overspending and misspending in Oklahoma, though we have a balanced budget amendment. The limits on the amount of spending doesn't mean that their spending will still be legal, will still be lawful.
Well, they form trusts and authorities.
Well, all of that, but the point is that they do all of these things for illegal things that the government is not allowed to touch.
They exempt capital improvements projects
from
that.
Let's go back to what I was talking about, because this goes to the heart of California's problem.
Mm-hmm.
California has become socialist. If they abided by the concept that you can't tax unless you are giving a just compensation for the one you're collecting the tax from, then California would have no problems. It would be the richest state in the nation and would probably have a gross product that would be second or third in the world.
At one point, I think Reagan said it was the 7th biggest economy in the world. If it was its own state,
if it was its own nation, it would be. They would be back up there, if not greater.
Yeah.
The problem is that California is now taking from everybody so much and giving them nothing in return.
Yeah.
To pay for people who don't deserve any of that money because they have no right to it.
But reparations. All that slavery that happened in California.
Have you ever seen that thing with Rob Schneider and what he talks about?
What's that?
Oh, he talks about the fact that California passed reparations to a state that never had slaves, and so forth. And he makes an analogy. It's a little crude, but it's very funny and very, very direct, and makes the point. And so, but here's the thing.
Mhm.
And I saw a video of it the other day. Guy in San Francisco
Mhm.
talking to a homeless guy, and they're talking about this, and this, and all these problems. Why would he be out there? And he's like, it's free. I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and they pay me. Why wouldn't I do this?
Yeah.
That was his conclusion. And so you don't like these things? Well, quit ripping off your compatriots, your fellow citizens, and paying for all of this stuff, because you get what you pay for.
What you subsidize, you get more of.
And so therefore, but what we as concerned citizens are going to have to do is say, look, private charity takes up for all that. It will handle real needs. We're not talking, we're talking to this guy who was on this video I saw. He's not in need in reality.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing it because he can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he could go to work.
Sure.
He could go and be a productive member of society, but he's being paid not to.
Well, it's the welfare trap.
Exactly.
Once you get on, it's very hard to get off. You get hooked on it.
And this guy was like, I don't want to get off.
Okay. So you grew up in the Bakersfield area, right?
No, I grew up on the Central Coast.
Central Coast. Okay. But as an adult, lived in Bakersfield, which is a breadbasket, right?
Yes.
Agriculture like crazy.
Almonds and oranges.
In your particular area, yeah. But the whole lake bed that was Central California is just feeds the country.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. And oil like crazy oil.
Wow. I had no idea. So here's the thing. I go back to Grapes of Wrath, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the Okies, they were the homeless people back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did California handle the homeless back then?
Back then?
Yeah.
They camped near their job sites. That was the way it worked.
Yeah, if you hire them, you got to put up a place for them to live, because they ain't going to hang out in town.
No.
What's that?
No, they just made tent encampments.
Right, because the cops would tell them, you can't stay in town. By sunset tonight, you got to be out of town.
Yeah, I don't remember how much that was. They were working the farms anyway, so they weren't driving back and forth.
Well, it was the only place they could find a job, largely.
Pretty much,
right?
Yeah, that's why the grapes.
Yes.
The grapes, because they were working the grape fields.
You know, and of course, Steinbeck, you know, clearly was a socialist propaganda book. Because you champion their cause to, you know, here's the solution,
right?
Which is communism.
Yeah, and I don't remember it that well. Of course, I read it back when I was in school, but it's been 45 years or plus since.
But you lived there where these events happened.
I could take you to the labor camps where they did build shacks, and I could take you to where those things still exist.
Yeah. So when our economy got better and you didn't have these cheap Okies,
right?
Because they were largely referred to as Okies.
Sure.
So many of them came out of the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Then they had to replace them with Hispanics.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then, of course, he had Cesar Chavez come in,
right,
and, you know, champion their cause as labor union leader, who incidentally happened to be the most radically anti-immigration out of concern for his labor union members getting undercut by all this illegal immigration.
Absolutely. It's the only way you can keep prices high.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you find a workable wage for the people that hired him.
Right. You have to limit quantity of what you need in order to drive price up.
And now compare that to today's leftist California that seems to say, you're homeless, come on in. No, they aren't saying that, but yet their policies are saying that.
Well, their policies are saying that, but they're not having the homeless come in to work. They're stealing from their existing constituency and and then giving it to these people. I don't get it. And they play it off like they're being some sort of compassionate.
Well, they think if they subsidize something, it goes away.
Well,
that's the principle. Whatever you subsidize, you get more of. But they think they'll make it go away.
And the question is, are they really worshiping this socialist utopia and thinking that this is somehow what's going to happen? Because it's never worked. It's not going to work. It doesn't make any sense. Anybody who's ever had to deal with it, it doesn't make any sense. But let me go back to my point about California. The problem is California uses the proposition to the people more than any state I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Way more than we do here in Oklahoma.
And we've got a huge legacy.
And way more than we do in Oklahoma. But the problem is they pass things that are impossible to pay for.
Yeah.
And it's usually education, and it's often education or some other spending thing. And then the Assembly and the Senate just throw up their hands and go, we have to try to find some way to fulfill this because it's been voted on, and it's absolutely impossible to do.
Yeah.
So unless California does a couple of things, now this is not to say that the legislature and the governor are without blame, because they are, but what the people themselves have passed has been so egregious that it'll probably take a vote of the people to undo it.
Yeah.
And that's how bad it is. Prop 13 was one of the few things that kind of limited what they could steal.
What was Proposition 8? Because I remember hearing that term.
Prop 8 had to do with homosexual marriage.
Okay, that one, yeah.
Yeah, that was a different one, and that was the numbers don't work like Oklahoma, where we just keep sequentially adding.
Okay, gotcha.
There's our that was Prop 13 in that either legislative session or something.
Okay.
Or it was the 13th.
They reset the numbers.
But they keep resetting the numbers. So Prop 8 was like in 2008 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. So, then you've got lots of pretty notable people. In fact, 5-6 years ago, Elon Musk said, I'm out of here, and my factory's getting built somewhere else.
Yeah, well, Jeff Bezos is gone. Zuckerberg is pulling out, from what I just heard.
Do you have a location where he's going to land?
I think they said Florida, but I have not confirmed that. I don't know, but Facebook may be leaving. You're looking at a lot of
Facebook already does a lot of things in Texas right now.
Well, they may be going to Texas.
Yeah.
But the point is these people are going away because they're taxing the rich. Certainly the rich guys have moved their money out. Any money they might have or whatever, they're moving out to other states because they don't want to be caught up in California's wealth tax or the exit tax. And California's losing so many people that Gavin Newsom, I think they actually passed it. They were passing an exit tax that if you are leaving, they're going to tax you on the way out.
But the only thing left open in San Jose will be the Silicon Valley Museum. What it used to be.
They'll probably rent out all those campuses for cheap.
Because I don't see why, high-tech developers, why would you want to move to Silicon Valley now?
You don't.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was inexpensive enough. It was the place to be.
Yeah.
It's not any longer. It's been expensive for decades. I had a friend, a coworker who was my district manager at Radio Shack when I was an assistant in training, manager in training. And he became a regional manager. And so he moved up to San Jose. And this was in the 90s. He was paying $1,500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
In the 90s. That's nothing these days, but that in the 90s, that was a ton. That's like paying $5,000 a month now. And so, for a 1-bedroom, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so it's always been expensive, but now they're taxing you to death. Mm-hmm. And the more people leave, I mean, California got lucky. If Trump does his reforms to the census, then in the next census, then California will lose probably 2 or 3 more congresspeople. They only lost 1 or 2 the last time out.
I think that's right.
But I think they counted illegals in their count.
Yeah.
And I think if those go away, they're going to lose several.
Yeah.
And because that's the only way they could keep the size they are. People still want to move to California. I don't get it. I mean, I moved out for a reason. I never want to go back unless things completely change. And I love my old state.
Yeah.
But
by the way, you've been hearing some things about redistricting going on in legislatures here in the middle of a decade.
Right.
Let me understand something, because I don't see the news media really explaining this. When you redraw the map to make it more favorable or give an edge to one party or another,
right,
you're sometimes diluting a real strong, safe seat and giving some of that to a toss-up or maybe a Republican seat.
Sometimes.
But when they claim that this will give Democrats, 3 more seats, well, they will be 3, maybe all of them be less safe, right?
Well, it depends. In some of these, what they're doing is they are actually isolating Democrats into a single district. So instead of having 3 semi-safe seats, now they have 1 hardcore Dem seat, and you have 3 safe Republican seats.
Well, we've been seeing that here in Oklahoma. We've watched censuses and things like that.
Right.
And yeah, that to me, you aren't flipping any Republicans and all of a sudden making them Democrats or vice versa. You're just rearranging it so that you can make more R's and D's in the legislature.
Yeah.
But you're risking losing a race that would have been safe in order to gain another seat, right?
I think what you're describing is exactly what happened in Texas. So what happened in Texas is the Democrats sued and said that it was racially biased. And because it's racially biased, therefore, and I don't know how racially biased is Democrat or Republican, but they claimed that, got it upheld. And so therefore what they ended up getting was they got some very solid racially biased seats the way they wanted it done. Mm-hmm. But I think they got 2 solid seats, and the Republicans picked up 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And so it ended up, the unintended consequences for the Democrats was huge. I mean,
I was so glad when we looked like we were going to get rid of Sheila Jackson Lee, and then came Jasmine Crockett. And I don't think.
Well,
did you see her and Marjorie Taylor Greene go at it? This is about a year ago.
Okay.
Marjorie says, if you pay something like, if you pay attention and maybe get those fake eyelashes out of your way or something. Oh, and Crockett just blew up at her. She basically wanted to say, "You're all fake, woman."
Right. Did you know that Jasmine Crockett went to the most expensive school in Missouri?
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
She was a lawyer's daughter or something like that.
Right. It was, AOC comes from a wealthy part of town, too.
Does she?
Yeah. Michael Knowles was saying, look, I grew up where she grew up. She's a rich girl.
Okay.
She's acting like she's a chimp. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
It's nuts. Well, we better wrap this up.
Yeah, we've been going
So
long.
let's talk again about where to sign up for your Monday night course.
WeThePatriotsUSA.org.
Yep.
And this is a constitutional grounds led course, but for We the Patriots USA.
All right. Good. Eddie will be back next week. David, we'll have you in sometime soon. Oh, really quick. What's going on with the mosque in Broken Arrow?
Nothing really new. There is some movement on some land right next to them, just to the east. We haven't heard anything more, but they were trying to make some changes to not to their zoning, but to their use. We need to take a look at that. But nothing really that we've heard. The Muslims have done an open house. They're trying to do some PR because they lost that battle big time.
Yeah, they did.
They've done a very bad job of showing themselves to be good neighbors, and their example in Broken Arrow was pitiful. And so they're going to have to do something. Right now, it's all a bunch of show, but we'll see.
Well,
All we want is good neighbors.
Couple of days ago, Steve Bannon was on his War Room, was hung in, and he kept saying, he says, you got to have the guts to get up and do something like the people of Broken Arrow did. So he didn't call you out by name, but he's pretty impressed with what you did, David. All right. We're going to call it a show, and we will talk to you guys next week. Normally we're Saturday morning, 11 a.m. live. All right.
Good night.